The way we currently have the app coded, when a team is selected, it pulls down the entire data set for the tournament that team is in. Teams, games, everything. In general, this is a great performance optimization because data doesn't change that frequently, and it would be an unnecessary performance hit if we pulled down the data for every screen navigation. However, let's say a set of games just ended and a user wants to see the latest results. In that scenario, we want to give the user an explicit way to refresh the data. We'll implement this now with an Ionic refresher, which will allow the user to pull to refresh on the team details screen here, which is a user experience that people have come to expect on mobile devices. The first thing we'll do here on the team detail HTML is we'll come in and do an Ion refresher, and inside Ion refresher content. Now we haven't put any logic in yet, but let's just flip back to the app real quick so we can see what the user experience looks like. Here I'm back on the team detail. I'm going to grab it and pull it down. You can see the arrow at the top there, and then the arrow up. I'm going to release it, and you can see we have a spinner indicating a refresh operation. Now, of course, no refresh is actually happening yet because we haven't added any code logic to do it. So let's implement that now. The first thing we're going to do is come into our Ion refresher, and we're going to add an event called Ion refresh. And we'll name the method refresh all. Now let's go into the team detail page, and let's add a method at the end, and we'll call it refresh all, passing in the refresher. And we're going to make a call to the Elite API, specifically the refresh current tournament. Let's say subscribe. And when the data call finishes, we want to say refresher.complete. So it'll stop spinning. And then we want to call the Ion view loaded method again so it reinitializes. Now you may notice we're getting a red squiggle on the refresh current tournament method. And that's because it doesn't exist. So let's go add that now to our Elite API service. Now we already have a variable here for the current tourney. I'm going to add a second variable here called tourney data. And this is going to be an inline object here that we'll use as a dictionary. So each time a different tournament gets selected, we'll put it in the tourney data dictionary. Now I'm going to come down here to get tournament data. And right now we can see all it does is an HTTP get, and then it assigns the response to the current tourney. I'm going to actually have a complete replacement for this method. And what you're going to see is it's now got a force refresh parameter, which is optional, and by default it's false. And it does a little logic at the beginning, which just checks if it's not a forced refresh and we already have the data in the tourney data, then we can set the current tournament to that object and just return it. No need to make another HTTP call. And you can see I've even put a console log in here because I want to be very explicit about it so you can see what's happening. On the other hand, if we are doing a forced refresh, or maybe we haven't already made a call to that tournament, now you can see a console log saying, hey, we're actually about to make a fresh HTTP call here. And then this looks pretty much like the code we had before, with the only difference being on line 33, we add that data to the dictionary. And then finally, we actually want to put in this refresh current tourney method. And all that's happening here is we're encapsulating the get tournament data method with a call to say true, yes, refresh current tournament. So it's really just like calling the get tournament data method as we've always been doing, but we're sending in true here, which will force a refresh, even if we already have the data. Now let's go see this in action. Okay, let's see what happens here. So I'll click this team, and this will be the first time the game loads. And you can see it says right here, about to make HTTP call. So because it's the first time we've requested the data, it goes out and makes a fresh HTTP call to the web API. Now I'm going to go back to the home screen here. I'm going to select this a second time, the same team, same tournament. And you can see no need to make HTTP call, just return the data. So we already had it cached. No need to go get it again. And this is pretty much what our app's been doing all along. But now we actually want to refresh the data. And to illustrate that, you can see this first game here, there's no score yet. So maybe the game is in the fourth quarter, or maybe the game just ended, and we want to refresh this to see what the final score was. So to illustrate that, let me actually go into the console here for Firebase. And I'm going to add team 1 score. We're going to make it 29. And then let's add a team 2 score. Let's make it 41. And let's flip back here, and I'm just going to do a pull to refresh. And you can see we refreshed it, and there's the new score, 4129. It went out and made a fresh HTTP call to the server to get the latest data. Pull to refresh is extremely easy to implement, and it's a feature that users have come to expect. Don't hesitate to add this feature in your apps.